for my research into my second song, which was going to be Image by Magdalena who are a kind of synth pop band from America, in my research I came across this. So it turns out that Magdalena have used Omnisphere, which is a synthesizer. It's called a power synth by the looks of it. And they used one of the presets on it, and someone found that, and they've made a Reddit post, and I thought that was just a very cool bit of information to add. The song is incredible though. The whole song is incredible. So in correlation to the video that I've also added, trying to analyse why Image is so unnerving, is to do with the modality of the song for the most part. So it's all in minors. All the chords are minor, as mentioned in the video, but what they do is they deliberately create a modal ambiguity in the vocals by using root, fifth and sevenths mostly. They avoid the third to deliberately avoid that, to avoid the listener to be able to identify whether they are singing in a major or minor key. This is done because the third of a chord generally defines the major or minor pitch, or the mode of the, I don't know why I say mode, the tonality of the the tonality of the vocals. So something I've noticed about Magdalena is it's almost all synths, but they also do have a bass guitarist in. I don't believe that is a synth bass. I do believe that it is a physically played bass, like an actual dun-dun-dun. From what I can tell from looking at some of their live performances and stuff, but that may also. But what it is, it's a very they've obviously like high passed it. They've taken out the high ends of the bass. It's a very round and solid. It's like doo doo. You know, it's a solid bass. It's not a it's not. It's a very mellow bass. I'm using mellow a lot today. I'm saying mellow a lot, but it's a very mellow bass. It's a punchy, like almost round feeling bass instead of like other ones which may be more like high-end heavy or mid-heavy, such as like slap bass. This is not slap bass. This is a much more just simple bass line. And what's cool is the bass line moves in compound time, so it moves in threes, whereas the drums move in normal time in fours or twos, which creates that kind of moving sound, that kind of unsettlingness, as shown in the video. And then you have that kind of, at the initial part of the song, initial start of the song, you do have that kind of crazy like triplet, like it's like a descending minor. I think he said it was E minor, which is quite cool. And then go straight into that 4/4 beat to instantly switch it up, which is quite a cool technique, and it will, you know, snap the listener. It will get their ear, and it'll be like, oh, you know, that's cool. That's different. That's not what I was expecting, which is kind of, I feel like, the idea of this song, because the whole concept of the album and the song itself is essentially a character called True trying to find their true self, that make themselves the best person they can by implanting an imaginal disc, an implant into their brain. It's a very cool concept, and the whole album is awesome, but that's not what we're talking about today. And then in terms of the synths, you have that very high synth you hear that kind of mimics the vocals. Sounds to me like a sine wave. It doesn't sound very distorted, it sounds very pure, and it sounds, well, it may be a mix of a sine wave and something like a sawtooth, because it does have a bit of like fizziness to it. It has a bit of like, but it's very, at the same time, it's a very smooth um, smooth sounding thing. It sounds almost like a trumpet, if a trumpet was playing the highest a trumpet could play, or if a trumpet had been pitch shifted. It's very similar timbre to a trumpet, which I think is quite cool. Um, I think one of the really effective things about Magdalena Bay and the way that they have produced this song is that the pulse is easily identifiable and it continues through. Um, but then it's also the vocals are kind of moving. They're kind of a very fluid concept. The vocals, they're always moving and they're on a lot of sevenths, so that's kind of building that tension of having that seventh in the chord or in the shape in the song. Builds that tension and it kind of works off the pulse. It kind of creates the tension of the pulse, even though the pulse is a very straightforward 4/4. But because the pulse has also got that the compound time bass, it's kind of creating that. There's so many moving parts. It kind of makes it all seem like liquid. It's all kind of flowing with each other, but it's also not the same. It's like oil and water, but it works. Unlike oil and water, because you know, yeah, but like the concept of it's not the same and it doesn't necessarily mix together. It's not gonna be, but they are complements of each other. Like they're both there and they're both, like if you mix up oil into water, they'd still both be there. They just wouldn't be as prominent, which I think is what's quite good about it, is that they do be they are thoroughly different, you know, ideas because of the timings, but then they also work because they've been put together in such a way that just kind of creates that kind of rolling wave of music.